everyone! Welcome back to another video for Warhammer 40k, a universe so dark that vampires are considered the heroes of humanity. Last time we talked about the Sisters of Battle, and armies whose faith carries them to victory while also making us down bad for them. But today we are going back to the Space Marines, specifically the red-flavored kind. The Blood Angels, the heroes of the Imperium of Man, and one of the most boring versions of Marines lore-wise, for me at least. But just because I don't enjoy them, doesn't mean you can't, and that I won't be fair to them. So, let's get into the lore. The Blood Angels' history, like all other Space Marines, goes back to the time of the Great Crusade as one of the original Space Marine legions, being Legion number 9. They were far different from their modern-day Blood Angel counterparts. They were a legion of savage slaughterers with no sense of restraint. The 9th Legion was feared by all for their disturbing ways of conducting war. The Legion's reputation got so bad that the Imperial High Command was seriously thinking of quietly purging the 9th Legion from Imperial record and wiping them out. But, luckily for the 9th Legion, their savior was found. The Primarch Sanguinius ended up on a radioactive desert world of Baal, after being scattered alongside his brothers. Baal used to be a paradise world, but due to a war between the planet and its moon colony, it became a death world, as its grassy plains were turned into radiated deserts, and its population were made up of either barely surviving humans or horrific mutants. Sanguinius was found by the humans of Baal, and at first they thought he was a mutant due to the fact that the baby had angelic wings. Normally they would have killed him, but he was spared as the people who found him saw him as a good omen and a hope for better things to come. And so Sanguinius was raised by the people of Baal, and eventually came to lead them, to fight back against the mutants that plagued them for years, wiping out the mutant population of Baal entirely. After Sanguinius' final victory, the Great Crusade would reach Baal, and from there, the Emperor recruited his long-lost angelic son into the Crusade. Baal became the 9th Legion's recruiting world, and Sanguinius would slowly begin to reshape his legion, from being the barely contained berserkers to a tempered and disciplined legion worthy of standing with its fellow legions. But a dark secret would be found within the newly christened Blood Angels. The Angels suffered from a genetic flaw called the Red Thirst, a flaw that made individual Marines constantly hunger for blood, and if the thirst overtakes them, they go full Dracula and drink the blood from the nearest unlucky bastard. Sanguinius managed to keep the flaw under wraps and unknown to the wider Imperium, and in doing so, the 9th rose to be one of the most respected legions, if not the most revered by its brothers, coming to be best friends with Primarch Horus and his Sons of Horus Legion. But sadly, you know how this song and dance goes. The Horus Heresy would break out, and the Blood Angels, through their own stories and adventures, would eventually make it back to Terra for the final battle, standing with the White Scars and the Imperial Fists against the traitorous Tide. The defending legions held the line, and after roughly 3 months of endless onslaughts of traitor Space Marines and demons, strangely, Horus would lower the shields on his flagship, practically daring the Emperor to come challenge him. The Emperor brought along his personal retinue, as well as Sanguinius and his brother, Rogel Dorn, to accompany him to the traitor's flagship. The challenge, though, was a trap, and when the Loyalist forces teleported aboard the flagship, they were scattered all throughout it, with Sanguinius being transported the closest to Horus's chamber. The Angel would find and challenge his traitorous brother to single combat, but sadly, Sanguinius would lose to his oldest and dearest friend, having his neck snapped by the one brother he trusted above all else. However, the death of the Primarch would unleash something within the Blood Angels. A psychic shockwave affected the 9th Legion, and its forces fell into a maddened rage, all of them blacking out and launching a furious counterattack against the traitor forces. No matter what the traitors did, the Angels toughed out some of the worst they could throw at them, and with a combination of the Loyalists' counterattack and the death of Horus, the traitors would be pushed from Terra. Sadly, the events of the Horus Heresy would leave a scar on the Blood Angels, as the Legion would learn that this black rage that affected them was yet another flaw that could not be cured from what they understood about it, leaving each angel to contend with the fact that eventually they would either die in combat or become a monster lost in the memory of the final moments of Sanguinius. In modern-day 40k, the Blood Angels have had a lot of ups and downs, facing extinction numerous times, but standing defiant and coming back from the brink each time, even surviving a Tyranid invasion. When the galaxy was split in half, the Blood Angels were entrusted with policing the other side of the galaxy by Roboute Gulliman as his trusted representatives and reinforcing them with the brand new Primaris Marines. However, even with these new and improved Marines, the Black Rage and the Red Thirst seems to still have a strong hold over them, and the newest bursts of the chapter have also fallen to the same curse. But the Blood Angels have not given up, for they are the sons of the Angel, and they look their fate in the face and stand defiantly against it. It was the example of their Primarch, who faced his death and didn't give in to despair. And so the Blood Angels will look at this adversity the same way. Just another hill to climb. Let's get into the army.
I got it from eating sick aliens.
That's disgusting.
You eat people all the time!
Yes, and I'm a monster.
The Blood Angels, like all Space Marine chapters, will get their own standalone book, but also make use of units within the vanilla Space Marine Codex. Regular Space Marines and Blood Angels also share the same army ability, Oath of Moment. Oath of Moment works like this. During your command phase, you pick one unit from your opponent's army, and for the rest of the in-game round, all of your units get to reroll hit rolls against that unit. But in order for your army to feel more like the Sons of Sanguinius, we got a special detachment rule. The Blood Angel's detachment ability is the Red Thirst, which means if a unit makes a successful charge against an enemy unit, they get to add 1 to their weapon strength and attack characteristics. This makes the Blood Angels an extremely aggressive close combat army.
This needs to stop! Now!
So, just like the Dark Angels, you get to use units from the vanilla Space Marine Codex, but you get your own set of unique units as well. For your vehicles, you get access to several variants of Dreadnoughts and a Predator tank. There's the Furioso Dreadnought, a walker designed to mow down Horde units, the Librarian Dreadnought, whose job it is to support your army and has a special ability that allows it to keep up with your faster infantry units. And then there's the Ball Predator. The Ball Predator focuses on being a fast-hitting anti-infantry tank, being able to equip either a Flamestorm cannon or a Twin Assault cannon for its main turret. This makes your Blood Angels easily able to tear through hordes of enemy infantry. But now, let's look at the units you will be running the most in a Blood Angels army.
Now is not the time to lay about. Now is the time to run the fuck away.
So, remember in the lore section where I told you guys about the Black Rage? Well, here's the result of that. The Death Company is a type of Marine who has fallen into the Black Rage and is destined for death. However, holy fuck, these units are going to drag down anything they touch with them. The Death Company are close-ranged murder tornadoes that can equip any Marine melee weapon they want. If they have jump packs, they get to reroll charges, or if they don't have one, they get sustained hits. This makes Death Company one of the scariest melee units in the game, as they can even equip fucking Thunderhammers for a whole unit, and can close the gap faster than most. Of course, you also get access to the Death Company Dreadnought, a murder tornado that has the disgusting ability to fight over and over again if an enemy unit targets it. That means if your Dreadnought is in combat and your opponent attacks first, you essentially get to attack twice or more during that phase. However, there is a massive downside about your Death Company. If your unit isn't led by a chaplain, they cannot secure objectives because their unit OC number is reduced to 0. So these guys are really good at clearing enemies off objectives, but are useless at holding them. So keep units that can capture objectives close by. Blood Angels have a special bodyguard unit called the Sanguinary Guard, who, as of 10th edition, only one character can join. The only one who can lead them is the Blood Angels Chapter Master, Lord Commander Dante, a legendary commander in the lore, but only a decent leader in the game. Dante gives +1 to charge and adds 1 to hit rolls for his unit. The Sanguinary Guard are a fast and tough unit to take down in melee, as they have a universal -1 to hit them in melee and give a -1 to wound them if they are led by your army's warlord. This combination can make a pretty beefy Death Star unit on the board that will slaughter any infantry unit stupid enough to get in their way. But unlike the Death Company, these guys can hold an objective, and your opponent will struggle to drag them off an objective if their only option is melee. The Golden Boys are still worth taking.
It's all boy!
Blood Angels sadly don't have their own Primarch equivalent model for obvious reasons, but they do get their own heroes, like Mephiston, one of the scariest librarians in the game due to being a monster in melee combat, and having the ability that can make enemy units in close combat his bitch. Asterath, who allows the Death Company unit he joins to fight on death, and gives them devastating wounds. And finally, the Sanguinor, a nasty little surprise for your opponent, because if he is still in your reserves when your opponent charges into one of your units, he can just pop up in that combat without any problem. Of course, there are 2 other characters in the book, but this is something we need to talk about from a modeling standpoint for Blood Angels.
Wow, I failed you as a principal.
The Blood Angels can be a pretty annoying army to build in 40k. 2 of your models, Captain Tycho and Brother Corbulo, are no longer being produced, as well as Asterath and the Sanguinor still being resin models, which can be a pain in the ass for newcomers to build, handle, and paint. Not to mention the fact that if you want to maximize your Death Company squads, you have to pillage from other Marine boxes to get all the parts you want and need for them. So if you want a squad of all Jump Pack Thunderhammer Death Company, it's gonna cost you a lot of money. And that's the Blood Angels. Although a frustrating army to build for its specific units, and can come off as just better and faster melee Space Marines, they are the best at the job, and can be extremely rewarding to play when you master them. And there isn't anything wrong with playing an army that strategy is extremely simple and brutal. Charge the enemy down and don't stop punching till one of you is dead. So if you want a fast-hitting, aggressive army, here you go. The next time we come back, we will be looking at the most terrifying and ghoulish armies of 40k. The Demons of Chaos! Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like the video, hit the subscribe button, and smash that bell icon for notifications. And consider supporting me on Patreon. You get to see videos early and get to vote on which armies we talk about next. See you next time.